everybody, welcome to Strumming with Christopher. I'm Christopher Gallegos with Monterey County Free Libraries, Gonzales branch. And I've been away for a while. I'm back now. Hope y'all have been practicing everything we've learned thus far. And you can always go back and watch any video you want, any concept you want. It's the magic of this type of programming. So, if you recall, the last two videos I did were talking about the blues. And what I wanted to do was take a lot of the concepts we've learned and show you how they fit into different styles of music. What good are tools if you don't know how to build a house, right? So, yeah, we have some basic strums, we have familiarity with chords, 1-4-5 progression, pentatonic scale, some finger picking, etc., right? So, now that we have that, doesn't mean our journey's done, but we have a good basic vocabulary of techniques. And so now I can say, well, in this type of music you have this, and this, and this. And that's good, because what that does, it opens up your mind to kind of see what styles you're interested in. When I started, I was into rock and heavy metal and hardcore punk music, and then one day I said, oh, too loud, and I switched to an acoustic and never looked back. So you might decide one day, hey, I don't really listen to this music too much, but I like the way that feels, and maybe I'll start listening to more, and maybe I'll play that kind of music. You're never locked in any one style, but it's good to know about things, right? So, in speaking about the blues, that was kind of an intentional start in this direction I'm going for a bit. Intentional in the sense that blues music is very, very important, at least in America, maybe North America, because blues music, you know, it's a type of music that comes from pain, and there's a lot of sad stories, but it was guitar-based at its origin. And it also started to influence a lot of other styles of music that came along later. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about country, because country was kind of, if blues was the tree, country was a little branch, right? So country has an interesting story. It was not always called country music. You know, around World War I, around that time, it was called old-time music. But you have an interesting intersection of history and cultures there. And what you had is the blues. The blues was kind of the start, right? But then you started having people move from the South up to the northern states. You had this in the post-antebellum South. You had this when you know, slavery was abolished. And you also had it during the Great World Wars. You know, you had these migrations of people going from the southern states up to the northern states. And along with this movement, you also had a kind of importation of the blues. And a lot of people up in the northern states and the big cities, they had never heard the blues. And suddenly you were hearing blues on the radio, and you said, wow, this is an interesting new type of music I like. So you had musicians that started getting inspired by that blues sound, and you also had a lot of musicians up north and some in the south that they still had that Anglo-American musical tradition. You know, in places like Kentucky and Appalachia, you had English folk ballads. You had this instrument called a dulcimer that's like little hammers and a harp. And you had the English sea shanties, and you had a lot of music that came from the United Kingdom that was retained, you know, in the years that people had been here. You figure by the time the blues started getting popular, America had been a country for, you know, 100+ years, and you still had people that 4, 5, 6 generations in might remember some of the songs that their great-great-great-grandfather or grandmother brought from England, right? So that strain started to kind of mix with the blues influence, and you started having this type of music that we now call country. That's the simple version, right? Cliff's Notes version. But, you know, you might not hear a lot of the blues approach in country itself, but it was a big influence. So I want to talk to you today about a certain strum, okay? And this is what I would call the classic country strumming pattern. So it's different from strumming patterns we've learned in the past, where it's kind of a full-throated, you know, up, down, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's a little bit different, okay? So you have to shift your approach. And to make it easy on the left hand, we're going to only use 2 chords for this example, the C chord and the G chord, which are 2 chords we already know pretty well, or should, right? But if you need a little refresher real quick, I'll show you the C. That's what I'm going to start with, right? So the C is your index finger on the B string, fret 1, your middle finger on the D string, fret 2, and your ring finger on the A string, fret 3, okay? So that A string, since that's the thickest string you're fretting, that's your bass note, okay? So always keep that in mind with this type of strumming. You want the bass note is important. So if you were doing a chord that covered all 6 strings, kind of like this G chord we're going to switch to, your bass note would be on the low E string, this G that you're fretting, okay? So for the C, we're going to start out easy, okay? So this C, to kind of get your mind around this country strumming pattern, we'll start slow, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to play the bass note. You're going to play that one string. Remember the lowest, thickest string you're fretting. You're going to play that bass note, and then you're going to strum the rest of the strings in a down strum, like this. Okay? So do that for a little bit till you feel comfortable. And then we're going to add a difference in the rhythm. I think the technical term is syncopation, but don't quote me on that. And there's going to be a kind of a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1. So it would sound like this. 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2. Okay? So you're only doing a down strum here. Okay? So when your hand is moving up, you're not hitting the strings on the way back up. Your hand will travel back up, but you won't hit the strings. The strings are only going to be on the down strum, okay? But that and is kind of that counting you're doing to remind yourself that it's like it's almost like an oval, like an elliptical, I guess, like down, bass, down, up, bass, down, up, 1, 2. So watch my strumming hand so you get an idea here. So it's going to be... G chord. You can switch to that if you're comfortable switching chords, which we should be. Right? You can also practice with your left hand without strumming if that's helpful for you. So the G string, if you recall, is your ring finger and your pinky, fret 3 on the high E and the B. Then you're going to have your index finger on the A string, fret 2. And on the low E, your middle finger will be doing fret 3, and that is your bass note that you're going to play to start off. So 1 and a 2. And again, if you need for comfort, just start with a bass down, bass down, bass down, then add in the bass down and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2. Back to C. 1 and a 2, 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 2. So any speed, once you have that pattern down, that kind of that pattern is what gives you that characteristic sound. So it's kind of a 3-part thing. It's your bass note, downstroke, hand coming back up, little pause. And you can do it with any series of chords. You can do it with bar chords. Say I'm doing a 1-4-5 pattern in the key of A. Same kind of thing, just playing the bass note. Examples where you could say it's simple but not easy, and that's why I'm choosing to focus on this one strum for this episode. And this is really fun to be able to break down styles for all of you with things that we've already learned. Those are the first 2 chords we learned. We have some basic strumming, we have some basic right hand technique as well, and you can put it together and start to see, okay, yeah, listen to some old country, listen to some George Strait or some Alan Jackson or some of that early 80s country. Golden era country. Listen to some of that, and you'll start to hear in some of these songs. Oh yeah, and so this is you. There's even a song. Forget who does it, but it's called "The Wanderer." The Wanderer, like I'm wandering. The Wanderer kind of even has that kind of thing. So you started to see how rock music, as it developed, had some country roots and blues roots. So maybe rock will be next, but there'll also be some other surprises. Anyway, I hope that little strum is a fun thing for you to get back into this with. And I'm very happy to be back and talking to you all, and hope you have a great week, and Happy strumming.